Jose, ha ha ha. I hope you're ready, children. This is gonna be a fun video. I'm noticeably excited. I'm pumped for this. I've wanted to make this video for a while. I know you guys have been asking this for a while. I just break out the golden grams and the Swedish fish. That's all I can say. We might be here for a spell. This is gonna be a video about Marshall D. Teach, also known as Blackbeard, the main antagonist in the One Piece story, and not in a general discussion kind of sense. We already did that when I did the Warlord series, so you can go check that out right here, about just a general discussion on Blackbeard. No, today we are talking specifically about Blackbeard's ability to absorb more than one devil fruit. You know, he of course has the Yami Yami no Mi, and then later on during Marineford he absorbed the Gura Gura no Mi from Whitebeard. I think most of us are kind of, you know, up to speed on that. It was kind of a major event in the One Piece story. If you want to really call yourself a One Piece theorist on YouTube, which is a very, very prestigious job, I must say. But before we get into it, before we start talking about the actual theories, of course, this is something that many people have made videos about, many people have written about on forums and everything, trying to figure this out. I took some stuff from that, and I'll give you my opinions on those kind of theories, but I just want to give you my own perspective. But before we get into any of that, I feel like in order for us to properly get a grasp on Blackbeard, we need to start with historically accurate information. Okay, so historically, Blackbeard was actually named Edward Teach, or he was born in Bristol, England. This brings us right into the blockade of Charlestown. Oh, okay, whatever. Last time I tried to teach you guys shit about anything. Alright, so let's just dive right into it. The one theory that I found the most prevalent all over the internet, the one that I see most people making videos about and talking about on forums and stuff, is the Cerberus theory. Okay, Cerberus? Cerberus? Am I pronouncing that right? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, so Cerberus, you know about that dog guy thing, right? It's a three-headed dog that's supposed to guard the underworld, okay? So that's basically where the theory comes from, and that Blackbeard actually consumed a mythical Zoan fruit before he even had the Yami Yami no Mi. So before he even killed Thatch and consumed the Yami Yami no Mi, you know, he already had a devil fruit power. It was a mythical zone, so the same category as Marco's Phoenix fruit and Sengoku's human fruit model Buddha. You know, same thing there. I don't think we actually know the name of Marco's fruit. I don't think it was ever explained. But anyway, yeah, it's the same category there. Now, from what we've seen with mythical Zoan fruits, beyond the fact that they're just really rare, is that they seem to grant the user like a special ability. In Marco's case, he can, like, super accelerated heal all his wounds with his blue fire. With Sengoku, he can shoot out Buddha shockwaves! So, yeah, you get something cool there. The idea and the theory goes that if Blackbeard consumed this mythical Cerberus fruit, and he was allowed to turn into the Cerberus, then he would be able to eat more than one devil fruit depending on, you know, because of the number of heads he has. And a way that a lot of people back this up is if you look at Blackbeard's Jolly Roger, it has 3 skulls. So those 3 skulls must be indicative of that in some way. It's like, oh, 3 heads of the Cerberus, 3 skulls on the Jolly Roger. So Blackbeard ate this fruit, now he can consume more than one devil fruit. Now there's 2 ways you can look at that, and that even kind of adds a little bit of differences in the actual, you know, people that even believe in the Cerberus theory. I don't, and I'll tell you why in a second, but basically, you can look at it one of 2 ways. You can look at it like he consumed the Cerberus fruit, and then that still counts as one of the devil fruits, so he can only consume 2 more out of the 3. Another way of, and which by the way he already did, you know, Yami Yami no Mi, Gura Gura no Mi, so there you go. Another way of looking at it is it just provides you with the means to eat 3 more, 1 for each head, like the Cerberus fruit itself doesn't actually count. So I'm not completely against the idea that there could be a mythical zone out there that no one was ever even aware of. Considering of how rare that category is, it's probably right now, as we know of, the most rare out of any devil fruit category, period. Because Kizaru stated, you know, it's even rarer than a Logia fruit, and we already know that the Logias are pretty rare in the 3 main categories themselves. So, in that being the case, so far, mythical zone turning into legendary creatures, that's something that's, yeah, that's something that's probably the most rare out of all the devil fruits. So there's still probably quite a few of them that just have never been found before, have never been categorized, or not found in the devil fruit encyclopedia and shit like that. You know? And the only 2 that we've seen so far, of course, are Sengoku's and Marco's. So, if that's the case, I can understand no one's ever had it before, there's a fruit that could do that. The problem in the way that this theory goes is that it might have made sense when it first happened, But after the time skip, we get a little bit more information about Blackbeard's plans here. Jinbei talks about Blackbeard to Luffy at the end of Fishman Island, and he explains to him that not only is Blackbeard a Yonko now, but they're going around the ocean and they're hunting devil fruit power users. Okay, and then later on in Dressrosa, we have the run-in with Burgess, who really wants to get his hand on the Marimara no Mi. Even after the Marimara no Mi is consumed by Sabo, he still tries to, they're still like, oh, I can do something to you, or I can kill you and we'll bring you back. I'll get to that also at soon, like the whole Burgess thing with the knife, because that's something else altogether. But they were still trying to get his power, even though Sabo already consumed them. The problem I have with this is that whether or not you view it like, Blackbeard can only consume 3 fruits with the Cerberus, and that counts, or it's 4 with the Cerberus included, that still puts a definitive cap on the number of powers that he can have. And the way that this seems to be set up, and one of the main reasons why he was made a Yonko and why he's so formidable, is that he's going around stealing other people's devil fruit abilities. So that's an interesting problem we have with that, where if the Cerberus thing is real, it wouldn't make any sense for him to consume, like, all the ones he wanted, just the ones that, like, okay, 1 for each head. I can understand that. But it seems very clear that Blackbeard is out there hunting for other devil fruit users and stuff like that. I guess you could say that he's only going around killing devil fruit users so that they're not a threat to him, but the way that it seemed to be presented and the way that Burgess acted during Dressrosa, it really seemed like, no, we're not just trying to kill you, we're trying to take your powers away and then do something with them. So that leads us into some other theories we're going to get into there, but that was the one that I saw that was the most prevalent, the Cerberus theory there. Let's talk about the Yami Yami no Mi. Because when this first happened, when Blackbeard first absorbed Whitebeard's fruit, and everyone was freaking out. Both the people in the manga, like Marco, and everyone was like, oh man, what the hell's going on here? And then you have the actual fandom that were freaking out, like, oh man, what's going on here? You're not supposed to eat 2 devil fruits. As we found out in Ennie's lobby with Jabra mentioned, like, well, first he was afraid that just having 2 devil fruits next to each other would cause the body to explode, and then Blue and O corrects him. He says, no, that's not how it works. If you try to consume more than 1 devil fruit, your body cannot handle both powers, and then your body explodes. And so everyone's like, well, what happened? How can Blackbeard have this power? And then Marco said something like, well, that's only if you're normal, sure, but, Teach's body is definitely not normal. The way I originally interpreted it is that it had something to do with the Yami Yami no Mi. It was through the Yami Yami powers that already had the unique ability of negating a devil fruit ability that allowed him to somehow consume another devil fruit ability. But after a while, I looked at that and saying, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Because Blackbeard was aware of what the Yami Yami no Mi looked like and what its power was. You know what that means? That means that it was already categorized in the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia, and somebody already had this power before Blackbeard. So that's how people know about these devil fruits. Someone eats the fruit, and then they die, and exhibiting the powers in their life, and then someone thinks to write that down, and that's where the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia comes from. Which, by the way, I would love to get that as like a released book. Like, just a book released of the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia that I could actually just read, because that would be rather interesting, But, yeah, so if somebody already had this fruit, though, the abilities of it, Blackbeard was already aware of these powers before he got his hands on the Yami Yami no Mi. He already knew what they could do. It might have been a rather obscure devil fruit, but people knew what it could do. So if that was the case, I think a devil fruit that allowed you to not only negate other devil fruits, but allowed you to steal fruits from people, nobody knows about this. Nobody was aware of it. Everybody was shocked. Nobody could make heads or tails about how Blackbeard absorbed more than 1 devil fruit power. This is a secret that only Blackbeard and his crew know. Nobody else knows. That we know of. I mean, I would like to see what maybe Vegapung's thoughts on this, in his devil fruit research. Maybe he knows something about this. But as far as, like, the Navy at large, and the Admirals, and Sengoku, and Garp, and, like, other Yonko, like Shanks, and even top-ranking members in the Whitebeard Pirates, like, well, Whitebeard himself, for one, but also, well, I guess Whitebeard himself wouldn't know, because he died after they did it, but, like, Marco and people, they had no idea what was going on here. So this is something that's never been written down before, something that's never been used before. Blackbeard is very unique in this respect. So I don't think it has something to do with the Yami Yami, know me. I think it would have been written down. Somebody would have thought to bring that up. Oh, by the way, this fruit also allows you to absorb other devil fruit abilities. Alright, so next I want to talk about how exactly Blackbeard, the things that we know about the series of events of how Blackbeard absorbed the Gura Gura no Mi from Whitebeard. Here's what we know. First thing they did is they fucking killed him. Alright? They killed him first. They riddled him full of bullets. Next thing they did is they covered him with a black tarp. Blackbeard went under the tarp, did something to Whitebeard's corpse, removed the tarp, and then all of a sudden Whitebeard's corpse is still there, standing tall, doesn't look any different. Blackbeard also doesn't physically look any different. Except now, Blackbeard has absorbed the Gura Gura no Mi and then displays its powers. Alright, so there's a few different ways you can look at this. First off, is killing the power holder a prerequisite for Blackbeard's ability to work? That's the first question we have to look at. The reason that they had to kill him first was because it wouldn't have worked otherwise. But another way you could look at it is, it's freaking Whitebeard, and if you didn't kill him first, it wouldn't get far. Later on in Dressrosa, we have Burgess fighting against Sabo, who has the Mera no Mi, and Burgess raises a knife above Sabo's head trying to stab him, like, I'm gonna take your power. He was also brandishing this knife against, when he charged in, against Luffy. Which is also probably a devil fruit ability that they would probably want, the Gamu Gamu no Mi. So once again, though, it presents the same kind of problem. Is it the knife itself that actually absorbs the fruit or does something to steal the fruit power? Or is it simply, you gotta stab them and kill them in order to, have this power activated first? Here's the way I view this. Alright? And this has problems, but this is a way that actually makes a little bit of sense to me. There's still some faults with that, but I'll go with it. Blackbeard figured out that whenever a devil fruit user dies, and the power gravitates to the nearest fruit. I talked about this in my recent video about Monet, about how whenever Smiley died on Punk Hazard, the fruit's power left Smiley and then gravitated to an apple that was nearby. Now, some people have brought up there was an issue with that. People thought it's not the nearest fruit, it's just the nearest fruit that has the same type as the fruit. Like, for instance, you know how some devil fruits take the appearance of, like, apples, and some will be, like, bananas, or, like, melons, or something like that, like, different types of fruit. The idea is that every devil fruit also has a specific type of fruit that they always inhabit. Now, I don't like that idea, because I find, okay, the odds of Smiley's fruit just happen to inhabit an apple, and then he explodes, and then apples just happen to be close to him. I feel like that's kind of really, really specific, I think it more has to deal with, like, the exact pattern of the fruit itself, like the way, like the subtle differences of the swirl pattern and which way they're swirling and stuff like that, because there are, and the color itself, there's also a different color of devil fruits, like Kaku's fruit was red, Califa's and Luffy's were purple, Smiley's was like a darker purple. I really think it's like that's how they examine it. If they look at like the certain swirl pattern and the color, they can determine what devil fruit it is. So we're just gonna go with that idea, though. The idea that when a devil fruit user dies, the power just gets drawn to the nearest physical fruit, okay? Blackbeard and his crew gun down Whitebeard, they throw the tarp over them, and then underneath the tarp, Blackbeard takes out a fruit that he just had on him, the power gets absorbed into that, then he eats the fruit. Now, this answers the how, but not exactly the why. Why did he know that this could work? Why did Blackbeard do that, knowing that there's like a danger of absorbing 2 devil fruits? Here's the kicker. Blackbeard had to find out that he could absorb more than 1 devil fruits. There's something that had to tell him, something that he had to come across that could actually explain to him, or at least give him the idea that you'll be able to eat more than 1 devil fruit and you will be fine with that. Because the general consensus is, if you eat more than 1 fruit, you fucking explode. Now, Blackbeard is very similar to Luffy, in that they both take risks, they both sometimes act without thinking. So I can understand maybe Blackbeard going with a risk, but he would have to know that, there was even a possibility that it could work. You know, because otherwise it would just be a death sentence. It wouldn't be like Blackbeard would be like, hey guys, I'm gonna try eating 2 devil fruits and see if I get the same power. I know everybody else that tried it died and exploded, but I'm sure I'll be fine. No, that doesn't make any fucking sense, okay? I mean, Blackbeard's a maniac, but he had to have something. Something had to tell him, he had to read something, or he had to figure out some sort of secret that got the idea in his head that, oh, okay, if I use this method, I'll be able to absorb more than 1 fruit. But I want to make one thing perfectly clear here. I'm not saying that just because if Blackbeard figured out, you know, the secret with the devil fruits that only Vegapunk knew, you know, where he can, like, absorb these powers or have more than 1 power, that doesn't mean he can have, like, a bunch of powers. That doesn't mean he could just go around and hunt all these devil fruit users and just have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different fruits, different powers going on at the same time. That's a little bit too OP. Even for OP, that's a little bit too OP. But what I think the dangerous thing about this is his ability to transfer powers much easier. So it's that he goes out, hunts for devil fruit abilities, manages to bring them back, store them in some way. Maybe he can, you know, like, stores them in the fruits, and he can switch out fruits whenever he wants. With not just himself, but also his crewmates. You know, like, he can give, like, okay, Shiru, take this fruit, okay, and now you need another power, so I'm going to take that away and give you this power back, or something like that. The easy transference of fruit abilities to swap out to any occasion, getting an entire inventory, an entire armory of devil fruits, so to speak, and then you can have whatever power you want depending on the situation. Now, for Blackbeard himself, the reason why he can just have 2 is because I really do go along with what Marco said, that his body is just special. It might actually have something to do with the will of D. It might have something to do with that. We don't know. Perhaps, you know, his soul is just a lot different or stronger than other humans are, and he can just have 2. But that's his maximum limit, 2 devil fruits. But if he wants to, he can, like, switch out those fruits for whatever he wants. Like, he would probably always keep the Yami Yami no Mi on handy just because how useful that is itself. You know, it's one of the ultimate devil fruits, one of the stronger ones, how he can nullify other devil fruit users. So maybe it makes it easier to kill them and then take their devil fruit powers. But then as for the Gura Gura no Mi, that's formidable in its own right, but he can take that, swap that out for other things. And the same way for his crew members. Now, his crew members are normal humans. Well, they're not normal humans, but they're not as unique as him. They can't absorb more than 1 fruit, but, you know, they can take out and give it back and do whatever, and they have this inventory there. They figured out some way to easily transfer fruit to human, perhaps, without killing someone for the power to go away. To just rip out the essence, throw it into a fruit, and then save it for later, and then, okay, here's another one, bite, okay, I have this power now, and then, you know, take that out when you're done with it. That's what I think's going on here. That's what I think makes more sense, particularly why they're going out hunting for power users all over the globe, and you don't need Blackbeard there to do that. You don't need him actually to be present to absorb the fruit powers. That's why Burgess was going after the Gamu Gamu no Mi and later the Mera Mera no Mi. You know, you didn't need to have him there. So, you know, like, he kills Sabo, the Mera Mera no Mi absorbs into a fruit, takes it back. Oh, here's the fruit. Okay, we'll put that in the Devil Fruit Vault or whatever. And if we need that power, we now have access to it. I could just give it to you and then take it back whenever. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. So that's where I think that's the idea that I have for his devil fruit abilities. It still leaves a lot of questions unanswered. For instance, how exactly, you know, is the mechanism for him absorbing the fruits, more than 1 fruit to begin with? Like I said, I think it has something to do with the will of D. Of course, if we do that, if we include it there with the will of D, that also would mean other members of the will of D would be able to have this ability as well, such as Luffy or Law would be able to absorb more than 1 devil fruit. You know, see, here's the thing. The Marines might not be aware of this because there's not really that many Marines that have the will of D in the Marines. I think Garp is the only one, you know? And so if that's the case, then they wouldn't be aware of this, and the will of D is something that's shrouded in mystery already, and the government pretty much makes it aware of, like, you're not allowed to study this. Perhaps that's one of the things. That's one of the secrets. You're not allowed to study the history of the D clan or anything like that, because they were these unique, special humans that were able to absorb more than 1 devil fruits, or their souls were different, or they allowed this, you know, something like that. A deeper secret than just, you know, what Corazon said. Like, Corazon just said they're enemies of God, but I think they might have actually had some other abilities that made them really, really dangerous, and this could just be one of them. And then Blackbeard could have figured this out, and then that's how he figured out a way to absorb, more than one devil fruit. Or maybe that's also indicative of that. Like, maybe they would have to use Blackbeard's body as, like, a go-between. Like, give Blackbeard the fruit, but then he can take it out and give it to somebody else, and, like, he's like a devil fruit, like, transference machine or something like that. Taking advantage of his unique abilities that no one else has to give powers to his crew, or to take advantage, like, the most, thing. Because Blackbeard, he's an idiot at times, but he can also be kind of intelligent, and there's really intelligent members on his crew, like Lafitte and Augur. Shiru is even, he's a bloodthirsty maniac, but he's also pretty intelligent. You also have to figure out, why do his crew follow him so dutifully? Blackbeard, he's done some really kind of stupid shit before. He walked into a path of Magellan's poison before, okay? He's not that smart in that situation. And yet, his crew is extremely loyal to him. Even the people that they broke out of Impel Down, the level 6 prisoners that really knew nothing about Blackbeard, followed him dutifully all the way to Marineford, this crazy plan. And I think Shiru even mentioned, like, this plan of yours better work, as they were about to, after they killed Whitebeard and were going to take his powers away. So I think it's like, maybe in order for this devil fruit transference, devil fruit plan, devil fruit armory, in order for that to work, you need to have Blackbeard there. Blackbeard is the linchpin. He's the keystone. So he has to be the captain. You have to follow him, because if he's not around, then you might not have this power anymore, and then the whole crew just crumbles. So that's another way of looking at it. He's really important, and it's like, he's like, hey, if you follow me, we can have access to all these devil fruit abilities, and we can rule the world, basically, with my power. But it's my power that I alone possess, that I alone understand the secrets of, so you gotta follow me dutifully. And then they're like, okay. And maybe they were a little bit, skeptical at first, but they went along with it after they figured out that they showed what it could actually do. So that's one way of looking at it. So yeah, just to recap, I don't buy the Cerberus theory, because I think the idea of hunting for multiple devil fruit users means that you're going to give them to your men in some way, or at least you could switch them out or something like that. I don't think the Cerberus theory really holds water there. The Yami Yami no Mi, I don't think that has really anything to do with the actual power, like multiple powers or anything like that, because somebody would have written about that. It was already well known. Like Blackbeard already knew what the Yami Yami no Mi looked like. He already recognized it. He knew what it was. Burgess's knife, I don't think it's a magic knife that steals devil fruit abilities. I think maybe just one of the prerequisites is the original owner that you steal the fruit from. Perhaps if it's, perhaps in Whitebeard's case, they had to kill him because he was so fucking powerful. They weren't going to be able to, maybe Blackbeard could have just walked up to Whitebeard and then ripped out the essence of the fruit, but it takes a little bit of time to do that, and Whitebeard's not just going to sit around waiting for you to do that. You had to kill him first. And the same thing with Sabo in some sense. Or with Sabo's case, they had to kill him because Blackbeard wasn't around. Or Sabo being really strong as well, he's not just going to sit around and let them do it. So that's the case there with that. I don't think Burgess's knife was like a magic special knife that like absorbs devil fruit abilities or anything. And I think that, it is really something that Blackbeard figured out, a secret of the will of D and the transference of powers and getting like an entire, shelf of devil fruits for your own personal freaking playtime. I think that is the real danger of the Yonko crew that he's gathered, and why, they reach that status so quickly, and how he's going around hunting for devil fruit users. I think that's what the real purpose of it is. What do you guys think about this? Leave comments below on your theories about his devil fruit abilities, his ability to, steal other fruits, how it works exactly. What do you think about my theory there? What do you think about other theories on the internet? This is something we could talk about for days, literally. I don't know. I might even do a follow-up video if I'm reading the comments and I find something that, it makes me think, oh, I never thought of it that way, or something like that, or, oh, here's another way it could work. This might be another video I might do about this every so often, to get caught up with this, because this is a really big mystery of One Piece. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Not as long as I thought it would be. I thought it would be here a lot longer than this, but it was still probably easily close to over 20 minutes easily. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. This will be Tekking101 signing out. Later, guys. which is a very, very prestigious job, I must say. You pretty much have to talk about this at some point. This and like the Will of D. It's just what you have to do as part of your job description. Yeah, job description. As if I'm gonna put this on my resume. Like I'm a One Piece theorist on YouTube. And watch, that would actually fucking work. I'd bring that into a job, and they'd be like, oh, you're a One Piece theorist. Now, well, what did you think about Blackbeard's ability to have 2 devil fruits? And then I'll tell them my theory and be like, you know what, you have a good head on your shoulders. You get the job. I'm like, yes.